Hello everyone, Equipment War here, and welcome to my build guide for my updated version of my Dual Wield Duelist. So let's start by taking a look at my passive skill tree, then my item, and then my skill gems. If you have any questions, please let me know. So let's get started. I actually started as a champion, and I'm gonna show the skill tree for the ascendancy first. I first went for Unstoppable Hero, and then I went for Fortitude. Then you're gonna go for Master of Metal, and last go for First to Strike, last to Fall. Moving on. But I took the attack speed in the beginning here, and then went for the physical damage, more physical damage, the life, armor, and evasion notes here. I also have all of the melee damage notes here. Then I went for Master of Arena, Bravery, Art of the Gladiator, Devrish. Then I went down here and took Might and Influence. I'm using Dual Strike in this build, so this Duel is an absolutely must-have. And this is the only place in the skill tree, this is important, it is only in this spot you can have this Duel in this skill tree. So just keep that in mind, you must have it in this one, and if you don't know how Threshold Duels works, Might and Influence, for example, says you need to have at least 30 dexterity in a radius, but it doesn't say allocated. So you don't have to take all of the dexterity in the wheel in the area here for this one to work. You only need to have that much dexterity in its radius. Yes, everyone know that. But this Duel basically allows you to do splash damage to surrounding enemies, and you have a 20% chance to deal double damage with your main hand weapon. So it's a really good Duel and really a must-have, and it's really cheap, so it's really easy to get and trade with people, or maybe you're actually getting lucky and actually drops for you. But again, let's move on. I have Golem's Blood, good for life and regeneration. I have Cloak and Chain. I have a Blade Barrier for some extra block chance and some physical damage. And I have Amber Dexterity. And I also have Vitality Void, and also have this Life Leech here to just get some nice leech here and help you with your survivability. So let's move on here. I didn't go up here from later, so I'm gonna talk about that later. First I went to the Marauder area, I grabbed the Warrior's Blood, and then some life here. I went for Heart of the Warrior, Born to Fight. Also have all of the melee damage notes here in the Marauder area. And I have this attack speed here as well. I also have By the Blade and the attack speed here. I went for Strong Arm. I got Barbarism. And I am a sword based build, so I went for Razor's Edge and Blade Master. You can technically make this build using axes. You can go Cleave and Slaughter. If you want to have an axe based build, you can take these notes instead of Razor's Edge and Blade Master. But doing that, you can't use this skill here. You can't use Whirling Blades with axes. Yes, you know that. Also, a Yule Socket here. This one is purely for damage. Increased damage, increased physical damage when dual wielding, increased attack speed. Also have some block chance on this one. And I have Resolute Technique, so I can't crit, but I can't miss either. So let's take a look on the other side here. Then I went for another Yule Socket here. Again, I have some block shots on this one. Also have some physical damage and melee damage. Not a very expensive Yule, but it's quite nice. I have Duality for some nice damage. I have Berserking for some nice attack speed. I also have Sentinel for some resistance and a good amount of armor and evasion. Then I will have the whole big life wheel here, and I have Path Warrior. And that's pretty much my skill tree. When it comes to the Pantheon, do whatever you want, because that's not that really important, but go for the physical damage protection, because that's what I usually always do. Anyway, if you have any questions about my skill tree, please let me know. So let's take a look at my items. So let's start with my weapons. When you're gonna look for your weapons, you're gonna look for something like this. You want as high physical damage and attack speed as you can afford and get. So try to get that on both your weapons. And right now a weapon like this is relatively expensive and standard, but in the current league it's not that expensive. I think it will cost like 30 chaos, which is, well, it's expensive depending who you ask, but then compared to standard league, It's not that bad. So again, try to get as high physical damage and attack speed as you can. For my helmet, I'm using a defensive helmet like this, and you want the resistance you need, life and armor. For your rings and amulets, you want life and the resistance you might need, but also, if you can, some flat physical damage always helps, on both of your rings and amulets. For my armor, I'm using this armor here, and again you want armor and life, and the resistance you might need. For my gloves, I'm using these spiky gloves here, and on your gloves you want life and resistance, and if you can and can afford it, some flat physical damage and attack speed if you can afford it. For my belt, I'm currently using this belt here, and you want life and resistance. And it's also a good idea if you can get a rustic stash, I can't pronounce that, which increases your physical damage. And for my boots, just using these boots here, I don't have any movement speed on them, so this pair of boots were not that very expensive. And you don't really need movement speed when you're using whirling blades. For my flasks, I'm using two life flasks, one that gives me armor and one that removes bleeding. Then I have 2 Lion's Roar to get a good boost to my damage. And I have a basalt flask. You don't have to have 2 life flasks, but I like to roll that. So let's take a look at my skill gems. We'll start with my main damage skill, which is Dual Strike. And Dual Strike are supported by Maim, Brutality, melee physical damage, chance to bleed, and Ruthlessness. When I'm just clearing normal maps, I like to switch out my Ruthlessness for Ancestral Call instead to get some good AoE damage. And then when I'm gonna fight bosses, I'll just switch out my Ancestral Call for Ruthlessness again. One quick note here, because I'm using Brutality, that means my skill will only do physical damage, so no chaos damage, no elemental damage. Yes, you know that. And it's also possible in this build to switch out Dual Strike for Cleave instead. And if you're gonna use Cleave, then you need 2 Yules, which are overwhelming odds. You can see them on screen right now. Moving on to my movement skills, I'm using Leap Slam and Whirling Blades. And they are both supported by Blood Magic and life gain on hit. Because I'm using Blood Magic, that means I will use my life instead of mana for my skill. For example, right now I'm equipping my Leap Slam together with Blood Magic. And if you take a look at my life and you are using the skill, you can see my life goes down instead of mana. And that means because these skills are quite mana hungry, and for me to be able to use them all the time whatever I want, I'm using them on my life instead of my mana. Moving on to my mana reservation skills, I'm using 1 Curse Aura, which is Vulnerability, together with Blasphemy. And to get a curse to be an aura, you must have a Blasphemy linked to Vulnerability. As you can see, I have linked these 2 together, and when I activate the aura, all enemies that comes close to me are automatically cursed with Vulnerability. And Vulnerability means that they take extra physical damage. They also take extra damage from bleed. I'm also using a War Banner, so then nearby enemies take extra physical damage. And I'm using Herald of Purity, so I get a nice boost to my flat physical damage. And I'm also using Blood Rage, so I get attack speed, life leech, and some chance to get frenzy charges, which is quite nice. I'm using 1 counter-attack skill, which is Vengeance, which have 30% chance to trigger when I'm hit. And it is supported by melee physical damage, life leech, and life gain on hit. To get some extra life here and there. I'm using Cast on Damage Taken, level 1, together with a level 1 Vortex, a level 1 Arctic Breath, and they are both supported by increased duration. I have a video in the description where I explain how Cast on Damage Taken works, so you're not getting confused. Anyway, that's all my skill gems. If you have any questions about my skill gem, please let me know. So, I will now show this character in action. I thank you all for watching, and before I forget it, when it comes to the bandits, you can either help Oak or kill all of them and take the 2 passive skill points. Anyway, I thank you all for watching. Tell me in the comment what you think about my build, and I see you guys soon.